Well, hello and welcome everyone who's ever out there watching and interested in getting help in how to Ableton and how to connect your devices to your computer to some streaming service of your type. Today I'm going to go into how to get on Twitch, how to get on YouTube. This is on YouTube. If you have an audio interface that has multiple channels and you want to bring your audio from your computer to stream. So there's going to be two pieces of software that you're going to have to get for your computer. I'm sure that there's other ones, but today I'm going to be using Soundflower, which reroutes the audio back into your computer, and OBS, excuse me, which is going to be like a plug-in or a bridge to get what's on your computer, both visual and audio, to whatever streaming service you are wanting to use. So for today, I've already got OBS here, and I've already got Soundflower installed. So if you're gonna do that, pause the video, or come back, or however you want to do it. But this is the time to take. Great, you've done it. Awesome, welcome back. Once you've done your Soundflower setup, the other thing that you're going to want to do is open your audio Midi setup, which is right there on the screen, somewhere above my head, I'm sure. This is actually hiding in your utilities folder, in your applications folder. That's where you can find it. And what you'll want to do is come down. I hope you can hear me all right. If you can't, put a comment down below. But I think, there we go. It's all right. What you'll want to do once you get into audio MIDI setup is go down to this plus at the bottom, and you're going to create an multi-output device. And the reason that you're going to be doing this is so you can set up a loop back of your audio from your computer into the stream. It's just a way to record it all. And because you've got your, whatever interface you've got, so I've got my X-Air 18 here and Soundflower. And you'll notice that Soundflower I've set to the main output. That's the way it is. If you've already gone into your interface, and oddly enough, mine isn't up here. I'm a bit worried now. No, we're doing fine. It's still there. Yeah, here it is. My normal output device is my X-Air, and if I go to configure speakers, so if you have a multi-in-out situation, this is the moment for you if you have like a digital mixer where you can swap around ins and outs. I've set mine to 15 and 16, which is a digital input device. And then I've rerouted that to the main outputs, which go to my speakers. Back in your multi-output device, set Soundflower as the main, the master. That's just what works. Otherwise, you get weird artifacts or buffer rates that just don't add up well. The other thing that you may want to do is select your main output as the multi-output device. That way it's just set up like my studio here is set up. I'll give you a tour in a bit about how that all works. But yeah, multi-output device. I believe if you, oh, there goes my audio right there. If you been having USB issues, so if it cuts in and out, I apologize. You're going to want to option click to get into this menu, but once you do that, select multi-output device. Now you've done the initial setups at this point to get your audio interface and your audio from your computer to cycle through itself. And now it needs some OBS and some Ableton setup to go in there and get your audio streaming. So if you open an Ableton file and go into your preferences, you can leave your, audio input device as your interface. I think that's just the easiest thing, unless you really want to record the audio from whatever, and perhaps you could even do this the other way around where Soundflower is an input into Ableton if you wanted to record your audio from your computer. I'm going to leave it this way. My multi-channel output is there. I've only got 2 channels, even though we know that my Xair has 18 outs. And down in Ableton, in its master out, I've just selected 1 and 2. And I've armed the track, and this is how you're hearing me now. I've armed the track. So when I unarm this track, you shouldn't be able to hear me at all. Let's just check this. I've armed the track again, and there we are. It's coming through. Now, let's see if I unmute my channel on the mixer, if that comes through. Perhaps, right? Do we really need Ableton? Let's check. I'm gonna unarm myself. Thanks. Let me fix that, Chris. Thanks for letting me know. I did this earlier. Is this a bit better? Let me, that was, yeah. Tell me if this is a bit better. It's a bit better on my end as well. So when I've gone into Ableton and unarmed the track, I've cut out the audio. So if you are looking to just stream this on, for instance, Zoom, just straight from using your computer's audio, there's an even easier way to do this. This is only if you're wanting to stream. And maybe I'll leave a quick cut or, yeah, great. I'm glad this is better. A cut to allow you to quickly go to the part where I'm like, this is how you just do it for Zoom or really quickly. Anyway, to get back to Ableton and OBS. I'm going to come down to OBS. We've already got our Ableton audio set up. We know it's working. We can hear each other. We get levels. The audio's working there. If we go into OBS And you'll see in this one here, I've got my live stream, and this is going to be insane. We're just going to get infinite versions of me. So I've got my Sony Handycam from 2004. Hello, but you have a 15-foot cable and I can move you around. Great. Hello there. We've got my screen capture, which is just, my current setup here. And then my audio. And if you double click any of these, you'll be able to actually go inside and worry a bit about this. Go a bit inside and then select your preferences. And I've selected default here. Now, my default, if you remember earlier, my default, because I've gone up here and selected multi-output device, that's actually the default for my computer. And so when I go into OBS and select default, that's it. It's done. I've done all the heavy work in audio MIDI setup doing, this multi-output device, which you can then rename to, like for instance, live stream or whatever you want. Oops. And hopefully my Ableton saw that. Yeah. Oh my. Are we still going? Yeah, we're fine. Get worried sometimes about that. All right. So if you are wanting to live stream on, for instance, Zoom, right? Because there was, I think, Chris, this was your question. So, this is actually a bit easier to just get audio from, for instance, this microphone into Zoom. If I go into my audio preferences here or settings, speaker, that's fine. Yeah, Xair, this is actually the right settings. You would set it to, my output speakers go to my Xair. So that, or same as system, which, that says 18. And then, my mic in is Xair. And from there, I've actually got levels here. I got my sound coming out. I tested this a bit earlier with, a private chat. Oh. And, yeah. So no problems. Let me see, Chris, because you had a question. Let me see back there and see what it was. There we go. Yeah, audio panning. So I haven't actually had this issue of hard panning, but let me say this. I wouldn't be surprised that, because in this instance, I've got a 1 and a 2, that if I come in here and give myself a nice pan there where I am on the left, I really hear that. And then go on the right, yeah, I really hear that as well. But it may be because you have a mono, right? Like something is a mono and it's just gonna go from side to side, and I don't know. It could be a thing. That's a funny issue. I'm quite perplexed as to why that issue would be happening, but we'll, take a look at it, I suppose. Is the audio sounding okay to you all? Am I having some issues with panning other than the ones that I'm demonstrating here on the screen? No, great, awesome to the 2 people who are watching in the past. All right. the other thing that I wanted to talk about, or at least cover, outside of streaming, was interfacing hardware and software. So if you have any audio issues just for streaming or setting up your live stuff, okay. So Chris has said, I are you? So Chris is his issue is when he live streams on Zoom, it hard pans left and right, and so let's see here. Yeah, so Zoom also has a feature that allows you to live stream to Facebook or YouTube. Actually, let's go in there because this is actually something I learned today. And this may be helpful to you if you're wanting to do like a live stream to YouTube from Zoom, because that sounds pretty cool. I will probably do that at some point. In fact, I could have done it today, but I decided not to because I wanted to show OBS. Oh, here I am. Let's do a double stream. Yeah. And, how did I do this earlier? Great. So I believe that, all my audio settings are fine for Zoom. I would assume so. Under this More section, there's actually a live to YouTube or live to Facebook button. So there you go. That easy. And then you go through a little online authentication. And from there, it takes you to the live stuff. YouTube, it was really easy. I definitely did this earlier today and had no issues. So if you're wanting to do YouTube or Facebook, I really don't do Facebook. Sorry. Sucks you in. Okay. Chris, I hope that helps in some ways to the issues that you are having. If you have a DAW, maybe then running it through your DAW and then saving that as a performance template, and just saying like live stream template. That way all your settings are already there. Could be helpful for you if that's something that you have access to or whoever is watching. Okay, so now, here we are. Now I'm going to be talking about interfacing hardware and software. And this is kind of general stuff, but if you have a rather large setup for audio gear, there's not a lot of tutorials that are like kind of walking you through this, and with Ableton, and so I had to figure this out. I'm doing this other stuff for the video, so here we are. So let's kind of take a tour around, and then we'll and then we'll see how I've connected all this stuff. Yeah, performance template. Definitely just do a save file, man. Like so many of these I have. Let's see. Yeah. Here, ritual of time dilations, performance solo or performance template solo set. There you are. And then just open that every time. Super, it sounds like weird, but like if you're using this stuff every day, it's a pain in the butt to just do that every time. Anyway, tour. Okay. So I've got on my desk my nice 2012 15-inch MacBook Pro. Still holding true. Just did a SSD and RAM and battery update. Maxed this out. Yeah, couldn't ask for a better machine. Next to it, or behind it rather, I've got this Roland TR626 drum machine, courtesy of my uncle. Thank you. So if you hear a lot of 12-bit drum samples, that's where it's from. To the left of my computer, I've got an Akai APC40, which is kind of like it's a MIDI controller that is kind of a mixing and performing desk. That's how I use it. It's got buttons that you can use specifically with Ableton. Yeah, very, very nice. Over here on this ledge by my desk, I've got an Axiom Pro 49 USB keyboard. Just USB, nothing special. It can connect to Ableton, but it's just a keyboard otherwise. On top of this table here, I've got Arturia BeatStep Pro, an Arturia Microbrute, and a Korg ARP Odyssey, as well as a Coma Electronic Field Kit. Let me give you a better shot here. Look at that 2004 graininess. Now, the BeatStep Pro is really the most important thing in this whole setup. Now, I say this because of the fact that it is actually the MIDI device that's speaking to the Microbrute, the ARP Odyssey, and the Roland drum machine back here. And how it's doing that is the BeatStep has three sets of, more than three sets of outputs, but three CV outputs and MIDI outputs. And so what I've done is I've connected the CV outputs of the BeatStep into both the Arturia Microbrute and the Korg ARP Odyssey, which then will allow me to send MIDI through the BeatStep Pro to each of these synthesizers, and they'll send it over CV. A similar routing chain is through for the 626, and that's just sending MIDI, and then it's going out the MIDI out of the BeatStep Pro into the TR626. Outside of that, let me swivel you around again. Hello. Outside of that, the Axiom Pro is just connected to Ableton. Nothing really too crazy there. The Akai APC40 is also just connected to Ableton. Nothing crazy there. They're just MIDI controllers. So what I'm going to do is show you the MIDI routing for all of this. And something that you'll need to do on your end is check what channels your devices are receiving and sending on. And because I've got the BeatStep Pro as the main bridge to talk about all this, Arturia actually has software, so I'm going to show you my software here. Hopefully nothing will crash. It crashed. Okay. I think it's, yeah, there we go. And Chris, if you're watching, I think you can totally do this in Logic. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. It would literally be the same setup. All right. So, on sequencer 1, I just know that it's going to be the ARP just because of these numbers. It's 6 and 5. And so it's set to, I'm going to send MIDI from Ableton to the beat step, and I want that beat step to send on sequencer 1, which I'll show you in just a moment, to send on MIDI channel 6. So let me take you over to the beat step. I already know that the ARP is channel 6. I'm not going to take you back there. It's too deep. All right, so I know that that's there. Now, in your Ableton project, what you're going to want to actually find is an external instrument. And this isn't any new news. This is how you do it, because I had to learn, and hopefully this will make it easier for you. What you'll do is you'll make an external instrument, and here it is right here. And what you're going to want to do is set those MIDI settings, right? I want the MIDI from the computer to go to the BeatStep Pro, right, which I've selected here, and to go to channel 5, because I know that channel 5 is actually the proper channel for it to be sending on, I guess. I don't know. We can try 6. I may have gotten my numbers backwards. And from there, it should send that MIDI to the ARP. Now, one other thing that's quite important is setting up the proper input channel, because otherwise by default, it's set to all, which could get hairy. I've been actually having some issues. You'll see in just a moment. You'll actually see the 626 trigger. Something's wrong with my MIDI channeling, or with the 626. Haven't found the answer to that problem. Wasn't doing it before. So if I arm this track and then go over to the Axiom Pro, we should get some sound from the Korg. That sounds a little Clockwork Orangey to me, this low stuff. Cool. So with that, you can see that everything's working. Yeah, let's take a look at this this TR626, right? So let's take a look at this. So I think that there's an issue in these settings here that I've done. If you look, sequencer 2, come to the beat step. there's something wrong with the drum channel altogether with how it's receiving MIDI, because it's actually receiving MIDI from all channels. I think that this is a 626 issue, because a few days ago it was only happening on the second channel from the beat step, and now it's actually getting it on all channels. So, oh well. But instead, let's go and interface a bit with the drums. It's all the same. What I'm actually going to do is go to the beat step, because I like working there better. I've already programmed a few drum tracks. And so this is actually a useful thing if you have outboard gear and it works with MIDI. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be sending MIDI to not only the beat step, but also Ableton. And Ableton's going to take that and record that MIDI from the beat step, and in a way that's going to allow me to perform with that hardware, and not as much worry about dealing with the software. There we go. And this is something that I personally look for in my practice with Ableton and performing live, is trying to not rely on the screen and rely more on the physical instruments around me. Trumpet player, that's how it happened. So anyway, gonna go to this. Cool, we've got not exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, man, been having so many issues with this. There we go. It's going to be some TR626 love in the next few days. Okay, so I've got the BeatStep Pro playing. It's sending its audio to the TR626. If I hit record here, here's a great thing, and this works for the ARP, it works for the Micro Brute. So here it is actually recording the MIDI. This is great. Now I can go to the beat step and actually use like the roller feature. Okay. That was fun, I guess. Now, a great feature is actually the ability to play that back. Which makes me think that this is channel 10. Always save your presets here. Maybe not. There we go. Anyway, so now we have Ableton actually playing this MIDI back. Now this will only work. Oh, thank you. This will only work. This will only work when you have, when you're using like the BeatStep Pro or the Axiom Pro 49. The reason is, like, why can't I use the Arturia Micro Brute, which has USB and is connected to the BeatStep? It's because that's taking control voltage and it's not sending the voltage out. It's only in its container of the Micro Brute. If I were to connect a USB cable, it would show up on the screen. Actually, my default for connecting to the Arturia microbrute is via its normal USB cable. So when I actually plug it in, it shows up here and it's selected. One other aspect of this is getting your Ableton MIDI preferences set up properly. The BeatStep Pro, I think, is the most intense of them, because sometimes I'll have it running and controlling Ableton, which you just hit this EXT, this external clock, and Ableton is then a slave rather than the master, or vice versa. I'll have the BeatStep Pro be the slave and Ableton the master. And when you do this, it's actually done over here with these settings. So if I come over here, so the output, I believe, of the BeatStep is working with the track and the sync. Let's see here. Yeah, exactly what we're trying to do. Send MIDI out to external tracks. Definitely one that we want. And then enable sync. Now for its input, I've done the same thing. I believe for the same reasons, I want Ableton to receive it, and I also want Ableton to send it. I want the BeatStep to receive it, and I want the BeatStep to resend it. Receive and send. And that's why I have these MIDI settings here. Okay. Well, I believe that's everything that I was going to try to talk about this evening and also earlier today. Help live stream with MacOS and interfacing hardware and software. I truly hope that this helps you set up whatever you're trying to set up to either live stream or get your DAW or hardware, software working in some way. I'm hoping to do this more often. So if you like what I'm doing or have suggestions to make this more engaging, leave a comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, follow my Facebook page. I'm an artist, David Aguila. And until then, I hope to see you and hope your musical and live streaming endeavors are well off, better off than they were before because of my struggles and troubles here. All right, until then, I'll see you. I'm going to have to exit out via YouTube, so you're going to see me go through this process. It's going to be lovely. Look at this. We get to see what my normal YouTube stream consists of. What will it be? Will it be? Yeah, it's pretty normal right there. Anyway, have a good evening. Have a good evening, everyone.